what's your relationship with steroids? Because for me, when I was first wanting to get into bodybuilding, I was talking to this guy in the gym who was taking steroids, and he says, before you do anything, read the steroids Bible. This is 30 years ago. You know, there's edition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all this stuff. And then there's a couple other books that have been written about this. Back then, there was a video done with Mr. Olympia guys being interviewed with their faces was blurry. And they're all answering as if you can't recognize who's who. You can, you know, one is Tom Glass, that's Ronnie Coleman. He's like,
you can recognize the body more than their face.
Recognize all of it. What are you guys doing hiding yourself? We know who you are, but it was a way of saying, well, you know, the truth about steroids. And oh my God, yeah, we don't use them. And everybody was uncomfortable talking about it. Right now, people are more open to say, here's what I've done, here's what I've done. What does the average person not know about steroids that they need to know?
Everything. There's probably a lot to it. And I mean, it's funny. I did a Q&A in Dubai the other week, and some kid just literally, probably 17, asked me if he should get on steroids. And I'm like, no. Like, first of all, I always tell people, if you have to ask someone else, you shouldn't. And the side effects to it can vary so greatly depending on the person. You just never know what you're going into. You know, you could do one cycle and then your natural testosterone could be dumped for the rest of your life, or you have to be on TRT forever. It can make you infertile. It can lead to more risk of heart disease, you know, increase of cholesterol. It can affect your liver, all your organs. It can be very damaging, especially when abused, which is typically people can get addicted, not addicted like a drug, but you get addicted to the result and how you feel, how you look and all that stuff. So I definitely recommend anyone at a young age don't even begin to touch it. If your physique is still progressing, don't even think about touching it. And if you're not thinking about doing this bodybuilding thing forever, then don't even think about touching it. Because some people have an idea they want to compete and are like, I'm going to do my first cycle and compete. And then they compete and they hate bodybuilding because it sucks. It's a lot shittier than you think it is when you get into it, especially at a high level. And then now you've done this potentially long-term damage to your body just for a 12-week prep to try and compete, and you can't go back on it. It's just not worth it. So I just always tell kids, it's sad it's even to kids, but to wait as long as possible to even think about it. Make sure that your nutrition, your recovery, your training is all perfect, and it's been perfect for years to the point where you've hit your natural plateau where you can't really make progress anymore. And then entertain, what is it really worth it to you? Understand the risk. Is the risk worth it to you? Is it going to be a long-term thing? Or are you building a career, going to school, and this is just like a side hobby? And is that really worth risking your health, you know?
How do you educate yourself? Like if I want to learn more, how do I start? Okay, because today, if you're above 40 and you go see not a doctor, there's some of these guys that you go to and, hey, I'm a lifestyle doctor. Anytime you hear words like this, lifestyle, you know, we can get you on TRT, peptides, all this other stuff. Let's see your blood levels. Let's do your blood test. Oh, okay, your testosterone level's only 320. You know that's not good for your heart. And there's a book that came out called The Ageless Man that anybody they tested with rats, and, you know, if your testosterone levels below this, it's actually got an increased chance of a heart attack and all this stuff. This book that came out, you know, Ageless Man, a lot of people talk about this. And then they get you on TRT, right? So you need to get at this level. If somebody wants to learn more about steroids to go and educate themselves, how should they start?
It's definitely challenging. And I think the world of TRT is different than steroids the way I look at it. Steroids are a little more underground. They're higher doses, more compounds, more things going on. I think if you're over the age of 35 and you have low T, I think TRT is a great thing for you. I think being able to have that energy and be healthy and burn body fat to have those capabilities is healthier than taking a little bit of TRT. So learning it, it's hard. You know, there's a bunch of people on the internet now who talk a lot of bullshit and a lot of people who are really good, so it's hard to differentiate that. But in any aspect, you can get shitty business advice, you can get good business advice. You have to do a lot of research and be smart enough to think for yourself. You have to have people you trust who are maybe in the industry, maybe some doctors who are a little less mainstream and more progressive who can actually communicate to you about it. But also, once you hear something from them, research it. You know, learn how to properly research, get backed articles, multiple sources, all this stuff. It's a difficult world out there with so much information. Being able to understand anything, it all has a risk of being bullshit.
Yeah, a lot of doctors you talk to, they don't even know.
No.
You go to a doctor and say, what do you know about this? No, I don't know. It's not good for you. It's not this. It's not okay. And then, you know, the key then becomes some people you go to, they give you too much of it. They're like, no, here's what you got. It's not going to do anything. You're going to be all right. So it's important whose counsel you take, because there's the extremes on both sides. One that is zero tolerance at all. I don't want to know nothing about it. And there's another side that is extreme. The source becomes like, who do I trust to go talk to where I can get this intel from? And is there a book or a website or an article or somewhere to go to where you like start here and then go from there, or no?
No, really, no.
Really?
No, not that I would ever come across myself.
Not the fact that you would ever come across yourself. How did you learn about it? Like for even you to be at where you're at, like who did you, like maybe not even a name, but was it yourself like, hey, everybody's talking about this. What is Anadrol 50? What is Deca? What are the compounds that do well together? Is Winnie good for you? What's Winstrol? What's water-based? What's oil-based? What's oral? What's this? What's that? Like, how did you start learning about all this stuff? Or was it the fact that maybe you had somebody in your life that had all of the years of education where you had an edge because somebody could tell you, don't waste your time with this, do this, this is what this guy did, that's what these guys are using, let's go research that, let's start out with the blood. Is that where kind of you had a little bit of insight?
It was definitely a bit of both of that.
Yeah, that makes
sense.
sense.
And I've always been a relationship person, and I'm building relationships is like the biggest thing, progressing in anything, having people you can trust. So I had people who could trust who were helping me, and they were always like, minimum effective dose, always. Start with the least possible and then go up from there. And then at a young age, I had a run-in with my health issues, and that's when I was like, okay, well, like this didn't cause it, but it could make it worse. So you hear things like Tren and Anadrol and all these things, and these are the hardcore ones. All right, hardcore usually means harder on your body as well. If it works more, it's probably harder on your body. Stay away from those. Do the more... if you can get it prescribed from a doctor, it's probably more researched and healthier. You're going to be doing higher doses than a doctor would, but minimum effective dose. Start as small as possible and slowly increase. You know, you don't need to throw the kitchen sink at it to start. You start small and slowly progress over time and change every other variable before that variable. You know, if you can change, I've still been progressing my recovery, my nutrition, my training, everything has been getting better over the years so that I can change all those variables, and I haven't had to change the amount of steroids I take for the last 5 years. It's decreased over my career.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
I mean, muscle maturity too is a
of
thing.
Course, yeah.
You know, I've been training for like 14 years, but that's not that long in the world of bodybuilding.
No.
I'm only 28, and I'm still, my body's just staying the same weight, but I look more mature, more dense over time. So I don't need to be just like blasting shit to get huge. I'm fine-tuning everything else, training harder, and I've been able to progress with my work ethic, you know? And there's a lot more to say about that than there is just taking more drugs.
Is there any website AI that, you can look at someone's physique and you put your physique there to say, you can actually have a physique that one day you could compete for Mr. Olympia. Is there anything like that exists or no?
I don't know.
You know why I asked that question? The reason why I asked that question is because some people think they can't. And you can, do you think you can generally tell with a kid after he works out for about a year, like, you have the right physique that if we build it, like, the endomorph, the mesomorph, the ectomorph, all that stuff, to say, you could actually do something with this body here. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you look at a 16-year-old kid, like this kid's got something here with the body that it puts together, or you're like, no, I disagree. I think you got to go 5 years to see if somebody's got it.
I would say there's a scale to everything.
Of course,
there's the people with the worst genetics in the world where you could imagine if they could train for a year and they can't even lose body fat, or it's very hard to. It's probably going to be difficult for them, or if they're 110 pounds, then yeah. But in the middle realm where most people lie, I would say it takes years to really see if you can or not. Because I've seen people who have trained for a long time and look good, and I'm like, they're okay. And then they start learning a little bit different. They find a new edge of how hard they can train, and all of a sudden their physique changes in a year more than it did the past 3 years. So everybody's so different.
I just say that because, when you see Arnold when he was at 16, 17, the way his chest would stay up, or you would look at you younger, like look at the way,
I would say at a Mr. Olympia level, then you can probably tell when they're young, If you don't have that first picture of me with that headband and that green shirt.
That's the one
I was in high school,
17
full natural, been training for a few years. I'd just been learning how to eat. I was just eating a lot. I didn't know properly how to, and obviously I had a hell of an amount of muscle on me for a high school student.
Are there any supplements for you where you're like, dude, these are some of the go-to supplements that I would, spend some time researching and looking up more? Because back in the days, it's very trendy, right? Oh, creatine, HMBO, V2GO, CLAO, all this stuff. Is there anything where it's like, these supplements, whether you want to be a bodybuilder or not, your body may need some of this. This is what you want to look up. And then some of the ones, if you are a bodybuilder and you're competing, these are some of the go-to supplements. And maybe it's some of them that you sell yourself.
Yeah, I always look at things that stand the test of time. creatine monohydrate is the most basic, cheapest thing you can buy. It's been researched the most, and it's been proven to work the most. And it absolutely does work. It's not going to be like steroids where you're going to change your life, but it will help your recovery and your progress, and you will get better from taking it. And then based off that, it's just nailing nutrition in my eyes. Pre-workout can help you have a harder workout, get more vasodilation, get a little more blood flooding to the muscles, but it's not necessary. It just helps. Protein powder, I think, is a huge help because if I'm having to get over 200 grams of protein in a day, it's hard to get that from food and expensive. A shake will help you get there. But other than that, everything else is just kind of bonuses that aren't really needed. And I've gone through Olympia preps where all I've taken was creatine and protein. And then everything else was taking steroids, of course, but it was focused more on diet and nutrition.
Got it. So,
and this is me owning a supplement company, being completely honest. Nutrition and how you eat is the most important thing.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.